All right, so guys, I think we are live, and good evening again. This is I think the second live that I'm doing today on the same day. Okay, we initially discussed today about some of the exams and strategies. Okay, but today we have today this session that we are having is on a very different lines, and this is going to be very intellectually learning session, interesting session for all of you guys here, because the session that we have, usually you see that we discuss about different examination strategies. Okay, we discuss about how you can improvise on your scores. Okay, what are the details about different courses and all that. But what we have today precisely that we have to discuss, is where we have Mr. Naki Abbas, and he is coming up with his immense experience. If I can share that, I think the session can go off with that, because he has a total of around more than 15 years of overall experience that he has, And to start off with, I'll give a short brief intro from my side, and then you can take over and probably add some more details to your experience there. Okay, but guys, understand Mr. Naki Abbas here that we have today. Okay, he has worked as a scientist. Okay, before getting into XLRI, he's worked as a scientist. Okay, he's working as a scientist in defense. Okay, that is DRDO, which is Defense Research and Development Organization. That's the same place. Okay, where our ex Prime Minister, President, Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam was there. So Mr. Naki Abbas was there as a scientist working in DRDO, and after that, like many of you guys, even he thought of going for a higher education, and that's where MBA came into his mind, and he passed out from XLRI. And after XLRI, he worked on different capacities in CET tires, first, and then he moved on to Dr. Reddy's. He's worked on multiple, both India and based on international assignments from these companies. And that overall corporate experience, he reached out to a level where he was leading a very senior position in human resources. And with those close to more than 10 years of his corporate experience, after that he moved on, and then took a step towards entrepreneurship. And right now he's doing the best thing, that is he's actually making people grow in their career, develop their careers. So it's kind of making careers for people, which is going to be there on a very big, larger extent, in terms of the impact that he can create. So great, sir. Firstly, such an immense experience that you have brought in, and that we're going to discuss a lot today. So firstly, from MBAP side, we welcome you. Welcome again.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Most welcome.
Yes. So, sir, today the first thing that I would want, and that is something that students are definitely going to learn a lot from this, is about in terms of, I mean, these are young chaps who are thinking of MBA, preparing for these exams, and a lot of emotions goes into this. And especially this is a time where they start giving those test mocks and all that. So many a time people think that मैं MBA करूँ कि नहीं करूँ, ये मेरे से हो पाएगा नहीं हो पाएगा, which is kind of a very you can understand that a mixed emotion situation that students are into. So now they see you as someone who has who surpassed that and then achieved a lot in his life. So how would you come on this, that like how has MBA overall taken shape in terms of your career, your life, everything?
Right. So no, first of all, thank you so much for inviting here, Heather. It's always a pleasure to to pause, and this kind of sessions give us an opportunity to look back, where we started and where we have come. So thank you so much for that. Now, let's say the topic that what I understand is it seems to be in two parts. One is why should one do an MBA in the first place, and then the last 2 years, especially the way this unprecedented COVID situation which has come into the mix. So I think these two are the dimensions what we want to discuss today, and I will try my best to cover, and I will also try to relate how this connects to my own personal journey, and I will try to share a lot of examples from there.
Sure.
Right. So let me begin by addressing the first question that you said, looking at MBA in isolation, why should one do an MBA in the first place? What is it that MBA? Uh, so I have seen so. Especially after I became an entrepreneur, I have seen so many people who are doing reasonably well, as an entrepreneur, uh, or people who have grown to a certain level. But and in many of my conversations with these kind of people, they say, we feel the lack of an MBA holding us back. And why they say that is because they are functionally very good. They know their business, they know their domain. They have been there. The business is doing well, but somehow an ability to take a larger view, to be able to connect the dots. The company has come to a certain level, but it is not growing beyond that level. How do you you look at lot of good practices being implemented by other organizations, so how do you contextualize it to your organization? And so that ability to think one level above, to connect different aspects of the not just your business but what's happening in the economics system, how is it affecting your. So that's where an MBA degree is offers tremendous value. And many of the time people are attracted towards an MBA because people are lured by fat salaries and a cushy life and all that, and that is there. I am not taking anything. I'm not saying it is not there. It is there, but the value of an MBA degree is very, very far more foundational. It takes your career to a different trajectory. So I would take a pause here and maybe invite some some. I see some questions are coming up, but if people want to discuss this in more specific, like why a particular kind of an MBA, or why MBA from a particular kind of institution, or should I do an MBA now, or should I defer it? Should I do an MBA with experience, without experience? Should I do full time or part time? Right?
So
We can expand on that.
one thing here, okay, that probably we can connect on that is you said that especially after getting into the entrepreneurship area, okay, where you met a lot of people and they told you that they feel the lack of not having an MBA, and in the taking business decisions and all that. So if you connect this phase of your career, okay, with let's say any of those incidents, okay, that you right, that you experience in your XLRI classroom, okay, let's say, okay, so if you can connect any of the incidents, okay, or anything like that, okay, which you can say that yeah, this is something that I learned or we discussed or this happened with me in XLRI that I can still relate after 10-15 years of my life.
Many Heather, I can just go on and on. I'll give two examples.
Yeah.
I have always maintained that the single biggest takeaway that you take from an MBA degree has actually nothing to do with the degree itself. It has nothing to do with what happens in the classroom, but everything to do with the people who study along with you, the batch.
Yes.
The network that you make. The those people, that 50 to 60, whatever is your batch size of your own
Mhm.
batch, plus your immediate senior batch and your immediate junior batch, which means
Mhm.
approximately 150 people who are going to become very important players in the corporate field. So you have a great head start. And
Mhm.
later on in your life, whether it is you are launching a product and you want a second opinion, you have a business idea and you want to discuss, you want to launch certain policies you want to evaluate. So those peer group, that is your biggest takeaway from any MBA program, and that is why the better an institute do it, the
Yes.
better the quality of those peers, right? So
Yes.
that is one. And for me, having those relationship, that has helped me a lot, while I was working, and even now, as an it gives you a tremendous head start. I think I can safely say, to wrap it up, if I would not have done MBA, I simply would not have been able to have the courage to start a business. Right.
Yes.
So that is very clear. Second, in terms of a let's say one very simple example from a curriculum point of view, because I don't want to give the impression that the curriculum doesn't matter. It certainly matters a lot. So to give an example, we are doing a project with a prominent pharma company. I can't take the name here, but it is one of the largest pharma companies worldwide. So the project that we are doing is on leadership assessment. Okay, company requires a certain kind of behaviors, and the leadership team is to be assessed. Are you living those behaviors? Are you a role model? Because you are in a leadership position. So in order to do that, we have designed something which is called a leadership experience center, and which, if I am to connect with the academic part, we had a course, I still recall, it was called Managerial Competency and Career Development, MCCD. And it was exactly this, that how do you identify the competencies, behavioral, functional, then how do you come out with certain tools. Okay, let us say you are saying you are evaluating somebody on decision making. Now how do you evaluate somebody on decision making? I mean, the most commonly people will think about an interview, but an interview is just one of the tools. There are so
Yes.
many other tools. So while we were in college, we had actually designed a whole basket of exercises, tools. We had implemented it, and that particular course, this whatever I learned in that course, now I am applying in this particular example that I gave. The leadership experience center. 2 to 3 projects there I have seen a direct link between that course and this, what I learned there. And in fact, about 10 to 15 years after graduating, I have picked up the book once again, related
Okay.
to this certain case studies, and I have found it extremely relevant.
Okay. That
Yeah.
also brings us to the point of human resources. Okay, that we can touch upon during our discussion. Okay, because
Right.
XLRI, okay, being one of the premium and like rank one institute that we have in our country, especially when it comes to human resources. Okay, and a
Right.
lot of people, especially when they come from the engineering background, okay, are not many people are able to connect the dot. Okay, and think of going for an HR program like that. So, what is your framework or anything that you can give to students? Okay, that if like why you should choose a HR program? Okay, not necessarily XLRI or any other test or for that matter, but in general, that if at all someone should be applying to XLRI or any of these top colleges. Okay, when it comes to HR course specifically. So, should they have something in mind, or should they only look at the brand of the institute at that point of time and then take a call?
Actually, my experience is not a good experience in this regard. I would not recommend people to decide the way I decided. So, in my case, it was very clear. I was totally focused on selecting the best institute that's available.
Okay.
I mean, what is the specialization I do over there was secondary. So as it happened, I would say in my case it was more of a chance that
So I think that
you
is also a case, sir, which is there with a lot of other students. Okay, I think that's the brand
yes,
calling. Okay, in India, no, they say that we have the naam bikta hai to sab kuch hai. Okay, so naam
right,
like the
right.
brand, the name. Okay, itself is a big thing, the big calling.
Yeah, so it is, and see what happens if you have it in you, if you have the potential to crack one of the top B schools, then it really doesn't matter that whether it is finance or operation. You will be able to the ecosystem, the peer pressure, the kind of faculty, and when you see so much good talent around you, you are motivated to make it happen.
Yes.
I think as long as you have it in you to crack a great college, uh, you should not have an issue with any specialization. But yes, please be conscious of it. Whatever specialization you choose, you are going to live with it for the next 30 to 40 years of your working life. Okay. So I mean, you shouldn't uh, it's you shouldn't leave it to chance. That's what you should be thoughtful about it. You should definitely have an abiding interest in that specialization. Career wise, all specializations are good. All offer attractive career opportunities. uh, but but I mean, you should think deeply about it because you are going to live with it for a very long time.
Yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah.
I think, I mean, in that case, if someone is specifically clear about a particular specialization, he should go for it. Otherwise, he should go for the general MBA programs, okay, so that he can eventually take a decision later on.
Uh, uh, I would say that in hindsight, I mean, this of course, I did not decide like this, but in the hindsight, I would say that you must do that research. You must ask yourself, ask people who are senior in those domains, and do a research and then decide the specialization. I mean, you should not leave it to whatever is available, kind of.
Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. So now coming to the current situation, okay, with regards to the pandemic, okay, and now hopefully we are towards the end of the pandemic, okay, hoping that third wave doesn't come, okay, and all that. Still a big, because MBA has the bigger question why we are focusing on MBA and connecting it with pandemic is MBA is a heavy investment. Okay.
Hmm.
Other than a degree or education, it also requires a good amount of investment. Okay, and that is one of those parameters. Okay, that makes you think, especially when you are surpassing a very crisis phase. Okay, of the economy. So, taking that into consideration, but if you check some of the stats, which is about the placements of the tier one colleges, top colleges, okay, all of that, you really don't see much of effect coming on them. I mean, if you talk about the IEMs, SPJs, and FMS and XLRIs, the current year, I mean, compared to this year and last year, and even if you compare that with 2019 also, okay, the placement figures have not really dropped. In fact, these are the institutions, okay, which are just growing in terms of the salaries and the fat salaries they're offering. Okay, so what is your comment? Okay, coming from the HR domain. Okay, what is your comment? Okay, in terms of a decision for MBA during the pandemic.
Yeah. I'm seeing some questions coming up in the comments. So should we take them towards the end, or should we take them
Yeah,
as
we
they
can
are
take
coming up?
we can take them towards the end. Okay, once we are good
Okay.
with the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Yeah. So,
Meanwhile,
Heather,
students who are discussing, okay, can surely, I mean, put in some more questions. I see Ankur asking about NIT
sure.
Silchar. Okay, good for MBA.
Right.
We'll
Right.
come to that. Okay.
Right.
Meanwhile, others who are there can just put on some more questions there.
Right.
Yeah.
Heather, your question is: is this a good time to
This
go
is a
for
good
an
time,
go for
and
an
also that because pandemic situation also is coming towards an end. Okay, what you would say that how this situation has changed? Has it really changed for an MBA? And if it has changed, how has it changed? Like covering both the aspects of pandemic and MBA.
Uh, Actually, it's quite a curious impact. So,
Hmm.
what has happened? Ki because the job market was not so good, I think still we have not fully come out of it. So, the impact it had in terms of education was actually positive because people were looking at it. Ki, see, in any case, my prospects are not great. It's not a good time to look for a attractive job. So why don't I go back to the classroom, upskill, do an MBA, get kind of add some solid credentials to my resume. In any case, the job market is not good. So why don't I utilize this time to kind of invest in myself? And by the time so an MBA, incidentally, the duration by 1 year or 2 years is very apt. It's not like a long duration program like an MBBS or a BTech or a B Pharma, right? It's a
Yeah,
2 year,
yeah,
which
yeah,
means
yeah.
whatever is supposed to happen, it would have happened, and already we are seeing things open up and businesses coming back to full steam. So that cycle would have been completed by the time you come out. Let's say for somebody who started in 2020 or who would be starting in 2021. I mean, definitely, you can't expect a downturn like this to last for longer than 2 to 3 years, and out of that, 1 to 2 years is already gone, right?
Gone. Yeah,
So
yeah.
actually, the impact in terms of education has only been positive. Now, the other side to the story is and this is more relevant from an MBA perspective. I'm not saying that it has not had an impact. The so-called, we can say, negative impact was, as I said, the great value of an MBA program comes from your network, and that network requires you to be at campus. That network
Yes.
requires you to spend quality time with your peers. There is a
Mhm.
lot of enrichment that happens beyond the classroom, especially in a program like MBA,
Yes.
right? There are
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
events, there are a lot of committees, there are a lot of inter-college fairs. It's a
Mhm.
very, it's actually a very interesting mix of academic and not non-academic stuff. The MBA program. Now
Mhm.
that is definitely, for the last 2 years that has been affected, continues to be affected as campuses are closed. So that
Mhm.
set people thinking, ki if I am not going to get that campus exposure, if I'm not able to interact with my peers, will it really be a very good MBA? I mean, I will invest 2 years, I will invest significant fees. So from that perspective, people were more worried, not from the inherent value, not from, should I, but that, that part, and that affects a program like MBA quite significantly. That factor continues to be there, uh, and we are still seeing how it evolves. Purely from an enrollment point of view, as much as I know, I am a member of Accelerize Alumni Committee, so I will give you a stat, so that you don't think I'm just talking some general stuff. In the midst of the pandemic, Accelerize has opened a new campus at
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Jhajjar. And
Mhm.
when we were studying at Excel, our batch size was 60 HR program. Currently, the batch size is somewhere around 240. This is between 2007 and 2021. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that itself is, tells you a story. Uh, Definitely, as far as the top colleges are concerned, enrollments have not come down.
Mhm.
Neither have the placements been affected greatly. Overall, yes, if you look at the overall total MBA enrollments, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, maybe that would have been affected because people have become choosy, that why should I do an MBA from an XYZ institute? Will it give the value for money? That has
Mhm.
happened, and I think that's a good development. It is forcing the colleges to look at the value that they are offering. I think it should have happened in any case, whether the pandemic
Mhm.
is there or not there.
Mm-hmm. From the perspective of students passing out from these premium institute, okay, and not just premium, let's say any of the MBA for that matter, okay, because the job market has changed. Okay, job market has changed and has changed even for the best of the companies for that matter. Okay, companies be it Deloitte or any of these big names that we take. Okay, definitely they every company was facing a tough time to sustain this phase. So, how would you say that from the perspective of an MBA student who's passing out? Okay, let's say he's passing out this year. Okay, might pass out next year. Okay, uh, no, be it fortunate or unfortunate, whatever we say. Okay, this particular job market in terms of MBA graduate guys. Okay, how this has changed. Okay, compared to the normal situation before pandemic. How would you comment on that?
So actually, for this question, I am qualified to comment because I have lived through one such event. When I was completing my engineering from AMU in 2002, so in
Yeah.
case many of your students would have been toddlers at that point of time, but
Yeah.
that was the time when the 9/11 event happened, the twin tower attacks, in September 2001. We were in final year and we graduated few months down the line, and the kind of hit it had on the job market, the stock market crash, and also from our entire engineering campus, which was a fairly reputed campus, we had just one placement, 001, only one placement.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
But did it mean that it was not a good time for graduating as an engineer? I would say certainly no. Because, see, I mean, how many times do we do a graduation in our life? I mean, till in my life, I have come across maybe just one or two people who have done two graduations. And how
Yeah,
many
yeah,
times do we do a post graduation? Again, I have seen one or two people maximum, not more than three to four, who have done two. So you are only going to do your. These are very very vital investment, whether it is time,
yes,
money, effort.
yes,
So it is not something for today. I mean, even if you are graduating today, you are doing an MBA for your career. You are not doing an
yeah,
MBA for what happens to you in 2022 or 2023, or what happens to you immediately the next day after you graduate. It is
perfect,
something
perfect,
that is going to stay with you for the rest of your life, right?
yes,
So and it is something that as a program MBA has been around for a while. I mean, last 60 to 70 years it has, despite so many economic downturns, emergency, financial crisis, WTC, lot of health issues. So I look at this pandemic as one more such event. Definitely it has a temporary effect, but your degree is not something temporary. It is going to stay with you. So yes, to some extent, it might have an effect immediately, the year in which you are graduating, but no, it will be a distant memory in 3 to 4 years.
yeah. I think that's a very good, the actual scenario that you mentioned about your engineering thing, and you can connect that with the current situation. Okay, that's a very good way to see that. End of the day, your career is not that you're building up for next 1 or 2 years. Okay, and
Right.
definitely the situation is a temporary situation, and you're going to get the benefit of your education, your experience. Okay, all of that, all your life.
So
So
if you see Heather, I mean, I'm being a bit philosophical here. You pick any of our uh, texts, whether you pick up Gita, Quran, Bible, Adi, this one, Adi Granth, all say that the only thing that you can influence is what you do with yourself. Otherwise, there will be so many factors that are external to you.
exactly,
I mean, how can you influence that? You can't. There is no way anybody can influence that. So the
yeah,
only thing that you are in control of is yourself.
is yourself.
When you are committing yourself to a quality education program like an MBA, so that's a genuinely good investment. Now, what happens around it? In any case, you are not in control, whether you like it or you don't like it. So, as long as it is something that is inherently good, you are doing from a good college. I
Mhm.
mean, it is only going to be of value.
Perfect, perfect. Makes sense, sir. Okay, and I think we can answer Ankur here. Okay, if you could answer, sir, on that. Do you want to answer
So,
that?
yeah. So, first of all, I didn't know that NIT Silchar has also started an MBA program, but I was aware about various IITs offering MBA programs. So, I mean, it is not something unsurprising, but I was not personally aware. So, uh,
So
I don't.
majorly, what we suggest here is if you look at the list, okay, of the premium institutions, okay, and I think okay, we have discussed today also about the reason why you should be in one of the top colleges, okay, because the learning, the network that you're going to benefit, and that's the core reason of you doing an MBA program. So I don't think okay NIT Silchar I mean definitely the NITs are the premium institutions when it comes to engineering and technology related stuff. Okay, but when it comes to management, okay, it has got its own different list of institutions which
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
much better than probably NITs. Okay, so I would say Ankur, if you still have chance for you to improvise and go for another chance, and that is something that a lot of people do. I would suggest you to go for that. Okay, so that you have one more shot of preparation and try to push up the bar of your performance and go up. Okay, but in case okay you think that this is the last option for you, okay, and you don't have any other really chance of going for another year of attempt or any other college, then I think you should still consider about what you are expecting out of your life with regards to your career. If NIT Silchar is offering you that, okay, definitely you should go for it. Otherwise, you can skip it. That is what okay I think would be a good way to answer it. Great. So
Yeah. So,
Yeah, yes, go
See,
ahead.
typically when I mean, Ankur or in general should be applicable for others also. See, unless you are clear what do you want from it, you you will be confused. So, for example, the question that you should ask is, what do I want out of an MBA?
Hmm.
Right, and write it down. Whether it is in terms of career, the earning potential, the recognition, whatever, fast growth, whatever. If you first ask that question, what do I want from an MBA, then you look at your option. Okay, this is an IT culture, this is a college X, this is college Y, and then you just see, okay, if I do it from here, uh, do I see a realistic chance of meeting those goals, at least some of those goals? Yeah.
So, Ankush, you mentioned that it started off in 2012. Okay, that I mean, it matters, yes, when the institute started off. But as Sir rightly said, okay, you have to see what the institute can offer you and what do you want out of your life, okay, out of your career. Okay, just a random, I mean, a simple example. Let's say you're expecting, right now you're working at a 3 lakh salary and you're expecting that, with 2 years of fees and investment, you should at least get 3 times the salary that you're earning right now, for example. Okay, because that's one of the areas which a lot of students connect to. Okay, so that's like 9 lakhs as an annual package that you should be aiming at. Now, if NITs which is kind of offering you in that range, probably you can make a decision on that note. If you think that no, it is making less than that, I mean, if it's more than that, definitely it is good for you. If it's less than that, you can think over it. But that's up to an individual where you make a choice that I would want at least 2 times or 3 times or 4 times, whatever. Okay, so you can take your call based on those metrics. Okay, and then.
Another shift, and this is definitely a shift. I mean, because we are on the subject of what has changed as far as the MBA education is concerned. So, one very, very clear shift that has happened from employers' perspective is people have become very choosy about what do you bring to the table. So
Hmm.
the pure play stamp that you are welcome simply because you are an MBA from an XYZ institute, uh, that has somewhat come down, and what has gone up, what has gained much more traction is what is it that you can get done, your ability to get things done, right? Whether you are I'll give you an example. So I have seen companies, conducting drive which are open to multiple qualification. They will say, okay, it doesn't matter you are a arts graduate or an engineering graduate or an MBA graduate. Here is a role. Here is my selection process. If you are able to clear it, you are welcome. Otherwise, I don't care. You are an MBA or a BTech or a arts graduate. So your ability to get things done, and how do you build it in your CV is by doing live project, by doing internships that offer real value. So the more you are able to add value in a real world context, not having great certification. I mean, a degree is a starting point, but this is something, a definite shift that I have seen from employees' point of view. They are not going to be impressed by your IM Ahmedabad degree. They are going to be impressed with that. What is it that you have accomplished? What is it that you can do?
And that is basically, I think, the journey that we see after an MBA graduate, okay, like graduation that you do. And that is why one very good example that I think, sir, I can quote here, because a lot of time people, when they think of MBA, they think of probably Amir Khan in Gajni, where he's walking out of those swanky cars and wow offices. Okay, I think they think that MBA is all about that. Okay, but let's say you can take an example of FMCG industry. Okay, where if someone gets into any of these big names of Dabur or Britannia or whatever, okay, like Buffetti. So the best of the college students, okay, from best of the colleges are also firstly made to work on ground, okay, talk to the real customers, okay, those retailers, shopkeepers, and all of that, so that's where they get the real insights. and based on that is where they can actually bring up some value on the table when they work on the strategy side of it. So that's exactly what you said. Your degree is definitely kind of a nameplate to it, but nameplate is just for namesake. After that, what really matters is what you can bring on the table.
Right.
Okay. So I think there's some question is asking the scope of supply chain, okay, and which institutes to target. Sir, if you would want to take
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, sure. So supply chain is an evergreen specialization, and today, if you see, with the explosion that has happened in the e-commerce, where your ability to get the material from where it is made to where it is required, I mean, it has the potential for supply chain has gone through the roof, right? Now, in terms of institutes, so two institutes which readily come to my mind, which are known for their emphasis on operations. One is, IIM Bangalore, and second is NITI. These two are having very strong recall in the minds of employers when it comes to operations, right? I mean, so yeah, definitely these two, and yeah, sure, IMB and NITI.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I think that's is I mean that summarizes all the point also that we kind of covered. Okay, talking about so we started off with a lot of things. Okay, and towards the end, okay, what I would want to summarize the point here for everyone of whatever we discussed is MBA is one of those very good investment that you can make in your career. Okay, irrespective of what is happening with the economy. Okay, it does not matter that when you are coming out there in the market, okay, what's happening in the market, but it is more within you. Okay, it's within you that what change you can bring in. Okay, whichever company you join in, or you choose to be a business or as another entrepreneur right from the start, whatever you choose, but it is majorly within you, and MBA is just value is adding value to yourself, like you as a person, it is adding value there. So I think that's the good side. Okay, and I think with Naki sir coming up, okay, with all those rich experience that he had, okay, he shared with his own experience. That is something is going to stay back with the student for a longer period of time. All right. So thanks, sir, for joining in
Yeah,
again. Okay.
I would say, Heather, that any student, any of your student who is thinking about, is this a good time to do an MBA? The question that you should actually be asking yourself, why am I looking at an MBA in the first place? I mean, keep this pandemic thing aside. It's a temporary
Mm-hmm.
situation. You should ask you, okay, fundamentally, why should I do an MBA?
Hmm.
Right? And there, if you get convinced, these are my career goals, whatever, then the next question that you should ask you, okay, I have made up my mind. I think MBA is something that will take my career to the place where I want. Then the next question is where, where do I want to do it from? And that's where this whole question
Yeah.
of preparation, which MBAP and other people they offer, that comes in. And I think what's happening in terms of the pandemic and all that, this is something very, very temporary. Already we are seeing that, big places are opening up. And on the job front, let me just assure all of you that the job market is very, very healthy. We do a lot of work in the recruitment space. So we are struggling to find good candidates, huh, by the way. Uh, it people have become choosy about what do you bring to the table, but in terms of whether jobs are there or not, no question about it. The very it's very, 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 very it's there. There is you should not uh, think that job market is it's all a very temporary phase, and it will be gone by the time you graduate.
And I like the answer, okay, and that is where, okay, I think the MBA part really stays with you your life, okay. The way sir just answered it, making it a very simple funnel, okay, of how you should take a decision, okay, by first thinking of why you need an MBA, and then coming down to the right college, okay, that you should be focusing on. So that is where, okay, this structure of thought, okay, is what, okay, the MBA gives you that. Okay, so great way to answer that, sir. Okay, and I think YC is asking, can you repeat the two colleges? Okay, that sir mentioned. One was NITI. Okay, you can just put on Google. Okay, NITIE. Okay, NITI is in Mumbai, and the other name was IIM Bangalore. Right. All right, great discussion. Okay, quite an intellectual one. Okay, thanks, Naki sir, for joining in. Okay, we
My
would really
pleasure. My
want
pleasure,
to
Heather. Yeah.
contribute in many other ways. Okay, and we surely be in loop with you.
Sure, sure, sure. I wish MBAP and all your students all the best. And as I said, just focus on things which are in your control, and don't worry about things which are not in your control. Sure.
All
Take
right.
care. All the best, and all the best to your students for the career. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.